Breaking news tonight. Did Charlie Kirk's shooting suspect have help? At this hour, his friends and furries are under a microscope, being eyed by federal and local law enforcement. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
I heard the gunshot go off, and that was when I started hearing a bunch of people started crying and screaming to get down. I was terrified.
He thought it out. He planned it out that much that he knew he had to change clothes to blend in.
And it hit him in the carotid artery, and that caused a bleed out almost immediately.
Join us for full coverage of this Crime Stories first on Fox 1. Imagine this image. Rats running across the deck of a sinking ship, trying to find a way out, trying to grab a hold of anything rather than drown. Who, if anyone, helped the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect? Seemingly, they left a trail a mile wide. Are they that arrogant? They don't think the feds and the locals are going to look at their Discord chat group and beyond? First of all, Dr. Bethany Marshall, renowned psychoanalyst, joining us out of LA. You can see her on Peacock. She wrote Deal Breakers, and she's at drbethanymarshall.com. What is a furry?
A furry, Nancy, is a group. A furry is a person who's a part of a larger furry community where they love to dress up as animals. They wear what we call fur suits. They plan these suits for months. They come up with these cute, like bunny or bear or whatever outfits. They like to express their personalities. In other words, this is a group largely based on personality expression. However, there is a darker subset that is very eroticized and loves to use anthropomorphization of animals, meaning blending being a human and an animal with a sexual fetish. So they can only get off sexually if they have fur on them or they're touching somebody else who's furry.
Don't care. Retraction, I only care in the sense that is being a furry. I mean, I don't care who dresses up like what. I could not care less what people do in their own bedrooms. Just not interested. But if being so deeply involved in a fantasy life can extrapolate to thinking the plot to assassinate Charlie Kirk was a fantasy, they got another thought coming. Do you understand why I'm concerned?
Oh, yeah.
If someone is so deeply in a fantasy life, one person on the Discord chat wrote, after Kirk is pronounced dead, I'm having a hard time. Is this real? Yes, it's real. It happened.
Nancy, these people are deeply embedded in a fantasy life, not just the furry community, but these minions who have been following the perp. And so what I think happens with this group is that they are so envious of Charlie Kirk because he has this great life out there in the world. He has a wife, he has two beautiful children, he has notoriety, he's articulate, he debates, he contributes to education. And you have these little guys sitting on Twitch playing games, reinforcing each other's rage. And I'll be honest with you, envy towards somebody like Charlie Kirk, who has this great, great life. And we know about people who are homicidal, that they largely live in a fantasy world. I think of this as similar to incels, Nancy, where you have a group of men who can't get the girl. So what they do is they steep themselves in hatred, they work each other up, and eventually they have to kill the object of their envy and their hatred. Just because they can't have it, they don't want anybody else to have it. So that's
Okay,
how I feel that
you're really way, way, way out in the weeds. I'm just asking if their fantasy life would somehow make them, make it more conducive for them to think that the shooting of Charlie Kirk was part of a big fantasy. It's not. And that's certainly Franz Borghardt, joining me, veteran trial lawyer out of Baton Rouge. It's certainly not a defense under the law. I thought it was a fantasy. Look, right now, the feds and the locals are scouring the internet and beyond to determine if people in this chat Discord group or more helped him, aided, abetted, encouraged. And it doesn't have to be all three. It can be one of those for you to be charged with a felony of aiding and abetting. In many jurisdictions, carrying a 5 to 20 hard.
So a lot of people need to be worried right now. Acting in concert. Like you said, Nancy, just sending a message, yeah, you should go kill him. That's enough. Whether or not you're the guy driving the getaway car or not, it doesn't have to be that much. Now, that said, there's certainly going to be defenses to, I didn't really think he was going to do this crazy thing. And that's going to be, I think, all these little sub individuals, the obstruction folks, are going to sing like canaries and cooperate against this guy.
Well, I think you brought up a good point right there. Several, actually, Franz. To Alina Shirazi joining us, senior political reporter, Daily Mail. Alina, right now, we know the feds and the locals and in that jurisdiction in Utah are looking for cohorts, co-defendants. They could be witnesses. They could be defendants. That's what they're looking at right now. Tell me about this chat group, this Discord chat group.
Yeah, I mean, there was one before and after with Robinson where they essentially were trying to compare him to the shooter. And he said, yes, that's my doppelganger, joking. Now, afterwards, and this is what the FBI wants to point to, there's a lot of people that are just kind of chattering in the group, making it seem like this was premeditated. A lot of things on other social media accounts that were pointing to September 10th, saying that Charlie Kirk would be shot that day, that was going to be a positive thing. And so the FBI, these posts have been deleted, but everything, as you know, Nancy, once it's out there on the internet, it's out there. So they're looking through all of this to see if they can, in fact, use this as incriminating evidence.
Alina Shirazi, timing. I'm sure you've heard timing is everything, and it is, as far as proving that anyone in that chat group had knowledge beforehand of the murder plot. Okay? So if they were gleeful about the murder after, as disgusting as I find that, and it's not just about Charlie Kirk's murder, it's about anyone's murder. It's horrendous. But if they were predicting the murder down to the day and the location, that is evidence of guilty knowledge. So the timing of these comments, extremely important, Alina.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one or two or three, it was several people, which is certainly raising some eyebrows here. So, I mean, looking through exactly, who these people were, there was actually reportedly a lot of transgender individuals that were operating these accounts. And that seems to track with what we've been seeing with the themes of Robinson being impassioned after having been dating his romantic partner, his live-in partner, who is transgender. He was not a registered anything. He was registered to vote. His parents were Republicans. But Utah's governor said that the suspect appeared to have extreme leftist ideology. And he got into it with Dana Bash on CNN when she was pressing on that. She said, if he was a MAGA extremist, I would have also been telling you that as well.
It's really interesting. Sydney Sumner, if you're looking at these, wouldn't it be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10, laughing my ass off? Wow, that's a little too rich in detail for me to believe that Mushy, whoever that may be, didn't know about the plot. What about it, Sydney Sumner? And also, what is Discord to those that don't know of it?
Right. So Discord is it's multifaceted. It's kind of like Zoom and instant messenger all kind of rolled into one. So it's supposed to be a place where you can commune with friends, sometimes large group of friends over chat, or quickly set up a group FaceTime call very easily. So it's just kind of a social messaging platform. But the messages that have been posted on social media by people kind of in Tyler Robinson's orbit, they're terrifying. I mean, so somebody that followed Lance Twiggs, the roommate, on social media, on TikTok, posted about something happening to Charlie Kirk on September 10th. That seems to indicate that there was foreknowledge. People knew about this. Others could possibly be coincidence. Kirk was a very polarizing person. There were a lot of people who did not agree with his views and said some really horrible things about him before he was murdered. Some of those definitely could be coincidences, but others of these, it's a bad day to be Charlie. I don't know. That seems a little bit suspicious.
You know, Chris McDonough joining me, Director Cold Case Foundation, star of The Interview Room on YouTube. For my purposes, veteran homicide detective, worked over 300 homicides. Laughing about it, encouraging it online, cowards that stand by and say, yeah, do it, do it, do it. In my mind, they need to be prosecuted for aiding and abetting. Haven't you noticed in the cases that you've handled, people do things in groups that they would not do all by themselves? They're egged on.
Absolutely. That groupthink, Nancy, is very dangerous. And, you know, these furries had better start hiding out in the woods because the FBI is hunting. And they're about ready to get a wake-up call through every one of their click history, as well as any video that's, you know, floating around that campus. If that suspect is seen on his phone, either before or after the homicide, they better figure out, you know, how to make sure they have an excuse when the FBI rings their doorbell, because that's going to be problematic.
You know, to Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet and star of Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, when do words translate to action? Now, you and I were discussing earlier about processing the car and other physical evidence. Now, a lot of times we find DNA at scenes and we're like, great, we have DNA. That's 50% of the equation, but you have to compare it to somebody. And here's a great place to start. All of his so-called friends in the Discord chat.
That's a bingo, Nancy. There you go. And that's what's going to happen, I suspect, because let's keep in mind, there are questions out there, and my friend Chris brought this up a little while ago, thinking about, I don't know, was that car actually moving while the suspect was on the roof? Was somebody operating that vehicle to make a quick getaway? Well, we're going to find out. And here's how we're going to find out. If that individual, if that car was in fact moving, if it was just kind of in an orbit waiting for this person, I'm concerned that that person that was operating the vehicle has left behind their DNA on the gear lever, the door handle, the steering wheel. And let's just say that this individual is not somebody that commonly drives that vehicle. There will be big questions that we'll ask. And listen, when you begin to do the calculus on numbers relative to DNA, it's very exacting, isn't it, Nancy? It's not like the old days where you merely have latent prints, and they'll be looking for those as well. But those identifiers, and listen, we already have a hint that they're going down this road. They recovered this towel that this weapon was wrapped in, allegedly, and dropped out in the woods. And the suspect's DNA is on that towel. It's also on the screwdriver that they found on the roof. that may have been used to make adjustments on the weapon. We don't really know. We'll find out more about that. But slowly, the net is closing in on everybody that's involved in this, from electronic data to biological data. Woe be unto them. I'm telling you, it's coming.
And let's just use Kohberger as a great example, Joe Scott. And of course, Chris McDonough combing that scene as well, just like he combed this scene. Joe Scott, they find the sheath of the murder weapon, the knife Kohberger used to kill 4 innocent people. They find DNA, they're like, but whose DNA? So that's just half the equation. We've just heard Chris McDonough, Patel, the FBI director, who's been pilloried because of 2 arrests. Okay. He did the right thing. A guy says, I did it. Of course they're going to arrest him upon further questioning. He's been called a gadfly, a political gadfly. It's like 71 years old. Said, yeah, I just said that so the killer could get away from the scene. So he's the wrong guy. Of course they arrested people that looked as if they could be the shooter. But, of course, Patel going out and having a fancy 5-star dinner right after the shooting, that didn't help anything. Not a good look. I don't know about board cards, but I can't eat while I'm on trial. But, Chris McDonough, could you repeat what Joe Scott's talking about, and he referred back to you, about that vehicle, what they're looking at, and for what?
Yeah, Nancy. So what Doc Morgan was talking about, so there's 2 lanes going on here. Investigatively, that car in of itself, the FBI has recovered that car. You'll notice that that truck that's sitting there is blocking it from leaving that house because they were out there trying to get a search warrant. They took the telematics from that vehicle, sent it back to either Quantico and or to the Salt Lake FBI office, and they're trying to determine whether or not that vehicle was moving during the shot. If it was moving, then they're also looking for video of the suspect on a cell phone. If he's on a cell phone, he could be communicating with somebody. And the question is, investigatively, are they connected? If the car's stationary, they move on. If it's not, then that's putting somebody else into the circle.
And tonight we are learning about an alleged motive, pure hatred. He allegedly hated Charlie Kirk because of his political beliefs. Did somebody say, Alina Shirazi, Daily Mail, that Robinson didn't even vote?
Yeah, he hadn't voted, at least in the past 2 elections. He was registered to vote. He was not affiliated with any political party. But his parents were registered Republicans. And Utah's governor has been making the rounds on several TV networks saying that the suspect did appear to have extreme leftist ideology. And just saying he obtained that information when he was pressed, saying that he talked to a lot of his family members, his friends, who all said that this started in a short amount of time recently. And of course, a lot of it did start with his romantic partner as well. I mean, we saw him entrenched in so many of those darkroom chats on Discord and other social media websites. So he was certainly down the rabbit hole on this one.
To Dr. Bethany Marshall joining us, I want to understand something. How do you get radicalized online? And we're having family who wants to be anonymous of the roommate stating that the roommate, Robinson's roommate, helped radicalize him. They were romantic partners, but also we're hearing he was radicalized online. Who in the hay? Of course, now Sydney Summers told us how many thousands of hours this guy stayed online, like thousands and thousands of hours. How do you get radicalized looking at a computer screen?
You know, Nancy, radicalization starts with an us against them perspective. The government is bad. The church is bad. This political system is bad. And it's an attempt to pump oneself up and put oneself on a more elevated level as opposed to other people. And in fact, we see this with school shooters. We see this with workplace shooters. We see this with assassins, that usually they're in a position in society where they feel one down. They feel demoted. They are insult collectors. They have an axe to grind against society. And often before they commit the crime, they have been demoted in some way. And we know that this perp, this alleged shooter, dropped out of school. He had just gotten a $32,000 scholarship. Nonetheless, he dropped out of school. He was studying to be an electrician. So he was already taking a step back. So this so-called radicalization, I believe, was a way to put himself in a one-up position. And we see this clearly in the fact that he is standing on a building. He is above the crowd. There is a fish in a barrel quality. Nobody can stand a chance against him. And Nancy, those bullets went whizzing by students. So if you think about that, he's also trying to terrorize the community. So if we go back to radicalization, it's like, I'm going to wipe all of you out because it's me against you. It's us against them. I am better. I'm going to pump myself up. I'm going to eradicate you. I'm going to put you down. And people can group together online and they can pump themselves up and talk themselves into this. And I think that's what was happening in this case.
To Franz Borghardt joining us, veteran trial lawyer joining us out of the Baton Rouge jurisdiction. Franz, thank you for being with us tonight. A hearing has to be allowed, a very quick hearing, within 72 hours of an arrest. That's not just for the Kirk suspect. Okay, that's for everybody. You do not rot away behind bars. You must, under our Constitution and the law, the legal precedent that has been decided in courts across our country based on the Constitution, you have to be formally charged, not necessarily an arraignment with grand jury charges, but you've got to be told why you're being held in jail within 72 hours. Why?
So it's all about the Constitution. Right to attorney. They're going to probably tell him that. This is why we've seized you. Again, it's not a trial. It's just, hey, this is what we've arrested you for. And sometimes in some places they'll set a bond, Nancy. Although in this one, I would be shocked if he gets a bond, or if he gets a bond, it's going to be astronomical. That's all that should happen at that 72-hour hearing.
Did you notice, Borghardt, that this is in Utah County Court? True, felony, Superior Court, but these are not federal charges. At the get-go, we heard, federal death penalty, federal charges. That hasn't happened. These are state charges. But I can guarantee you, I think they will be seeking the death penalty, which is the firing squad there.
So I think it's not federal charges yet. I think the feds are going to take their time. I think you're going to see domestic terrorism. If he wants to be like Luigi, he's going to get everything he has, which is a federal sovereignty prosecution. Both jurisdictions can prosecute, and the feds can also seek the death penalty. So it's not feds yet, Nancy, but I think that's coming shortly.
We wait as justice unfolds, and let me remind everyone, if you know or think you know anything about this case, whether you deem it to be significant or not, please call toll-free 800, call FBI toll-free 800-225-5324. At this hour, we have been told, as we go to air tonight, that the 20-strong person chat room is being investigated. What did they know? When did they know? Did they aid, abet, or encourage in the murder of a father and husband? What, if anything, did they actively do? Did they commit an overt act in furthering the conspiracy to murder? We wait as justice unfolds. Good night, friend.